These are mistakes I actually made when I started a couple of months back. I'm still in the early stages of building my brand, but as I said, I'm documenting this process bit by bit. So I want to bring you guys up to speed on what I've done so far and mistake you should avoid. To give you a quick recap, I've set up an LLC in Hong Kong for better integration of the payment gateway with Shopify, since I'll be using Shopify for my brand. It is important to set up the LLC in a jurisdiction where your payment gateway won't face interruptions when processing orders, to also avoid issues with chargebacks or recalls. You might ask, why not use the USA? Well, since I'm not living in the USA, it's much complicated actually to set up bank account and payment gateways there if you are not a resident. So if you are a resident, then by all means set up your LLC in the USA, set up your bank and payment gateways in the USA. It's much more easier if you're a resident. Although I do have companies registered in the USA, but for this particular e-com brand, I needed a different solution. So setting up in Hong Kong make things much more easier for me. Another thing I've done, I have also contacted a supplier for my brand, which is in the supplement industry, specifically cognitive supplements. I decided to use Supplifu for this. Supplifu is a platform where you can find different wellness products to sell. They allow you to mark up the product price, to factor in shipping and your profit margin. While I was also waiting for the LLC and the payment gateway to be finalized, I also hired a developer to assist me in setting up the landing page and Shopify store. In between this, I'm still writing my MBA dissertation at the same time, which is overwhelming. So I don't just have the time or the hours to do everything by myself right now. So what made sense for me is to bring someone on board to do all these things, the integration and whatnot. In your own time, like in your own space, if you have the time, you can certainly set up the Shopify store yourself, integrate it with the supplier platform. It's just with 1 or 2 clicks of the button. So very, very easy. Now, let's get into the 5 mistakes you should avoid. Mistake 1, not checking your shipping destination. This mistake, it cost me time. Actually, it cost me time. I mean, if you have a product you want to sell, you need to be sure it can actually be shipped to the destinations you're targeting. Take for example, with supplements like mine, you need to check the specific jurisdiction regulations. So let's say you want to sell to Europe, countries like Germany, Finland, France, or Austria. Each of these countries, they have different regulations, and failing to check this beforehand can lead to major delays, which means your orders won't get shipped out. You have backlog of orders which cannot be fulfilled, and you don't want that for your business because it's going to slow down the momentum that you may have built, right? So I initially overlooked this, found out that the product I chose was restricted to only being shipped within the USA. I made sure to check everything now as a correction. So make sure you check all shipping restrictions and destination requirements from the get-go. Let's dive into mistake number 2. Not following supplier instructions for labels. This one also cost me time because I could have saved myself a ton of time by reading all the instructions in details. When you are creating your product label, it is crucial and important to follow the guidelines provided by your supplier. In my case, Supplifu adds specific instructions regarding labeling and disclaimers, especially those required by the FDA. I missed adding the full legal address on the label that I created on their platform. This led to delays of about 1 to 2 weeks just to make corrections alone. If I had followed the instruction, like read it and followed it to the core more carefully, I would have saved myself time and had my samples shipped out to me for content creating already. So just be diligent with label creation to avoid unnecessary delays. So let's dive into mistake 3, not asking questions. Another mistake I made was not asking enough questions. This time for me was very, very important, because if I'd asked enough questions, I would have saved myself some time of the mistakes I made. Time is an invaluable resource, and asking questions early on can help you reduce the time between ideation and execution. One thing I've personally realized is that sometimes you don't even know what questions to ask until you get started. But once you do, don't hesitate. Reach out to your supplier or anyone else involved and get the clarity you need. Ask as much questions as possible. Play out different scenarios so you can get the necessary feedback that you need to integrate into the process of building your brand. Mistake 4, not having backup products. I believe it is important to have at least 2 to 3 backup products in your lineup. For instance, with Suplifu, you might find that a product that you want to sell becomes unavailable for whatever reason. Now, having a backup means that you can switch between gears without losing momentum if you have momentum already going for you on your store. So it is important to be better prepared with alternatives so that your brand isn't stuck in waiting, or you have backlog of orders, or you have customers waiting for their orders to be fulfilled just because one of your products you can't offer one of your products has issues and you can't offer them an alternative because you just have just one single product. Mistake 5, not sorting out custom packaging early. This isn't exactly a mistake. I won't call this a mistake, right? But it is something that I want to actually highlight, right? Custom packaging adds a personal touch to your brand, which makes a huge difference, especially when you are trying to build customer loyalty from the beginning of your brand. So what I did was I asked Suplifu if they offered custom packaging. Then it turned out they didn't. If I hadn't asked, my customers would have received a product in a package that is generic, right? Which is not really ideal for building a memorable brand. The solution here now is to work with a third-party fulfillment service that can customize the packaging before it reaches your customer. They'll customize it to your liking. You send them the designs, they'll customize the packaging before it gets to your customers. So I will be creating a separate video for this, and I will be dropping it in the future very soon, but I'll be dropping that. So I will quickly recap on the 5 mistakes to avoid here. Number 1, not checking your shipping destination. Make sure you check where you're shipping to. Ask questions from your suppliers if whatever you are supplying is going to get to your targeted destination. Number 2, not following supplier instructions for labels. Make sure you read the instructions again and again and ask questions. Ask questions is very, very important. Number 4, make sure you have backup products. Make sure you have backup products. Then number 5, make sure that you sort everything that you need to sort out concerning your package earlier. So these are the lessons I've learned so far since I started, and I hope sharing them with you helps you to avoid similar setbacks. As always, thank you for tuning in and watching. If you find this video helpful for you, click subscribe and share with your friends, anyone you know that is building a brand or is about to start building a brand. Until the next video, peace and be safe.